The median sales price here in Utah has gone up over $21,000 or 3.9% year over year. That's a whole lot more than we thought possible with high interest rates, a slower market, slowest since 1995, I think, and all the other crap going on in the world. Stay tuned for my real estate predictions for Utah in 2025. So before we dive into 2025, let's see where we ended up in 2024 with 2023 and 2022 and what's leading to this year. Looking at national data, we see that in 2021, we had 6 million sales across the country, which was the record. That was the year everyone was migrating for COVID. People were moving because they were looking for, either safer states in their perception or freer states, all that migration that occurred maybe from California to Texas or California to Utah or Boise, Idaho. We saw tons of moving like that. And 2021 was the record of all time. 2023, we saw that come down to 4 million sales. And then 2024, we ended up around 3.8 million sales. Few transactions occurred last year because people were holding on to their homes because interest rates were higher and they didn't want to move. They didn't want to lose that low interest rate, so they stayed put. As I mentioned in the intro, according to data from Redfin, our Utah real estate ended up appreciating 3.9% year over year in December. The median sales price in Utah, $557,000. Even with these lower sales, everything that's happened, some markets, some COVID markets, have been decreasing. They've been getting some compression, such as Boise, Idaho, and Austin, Texas, because people are moving back out. Utah and Salt Lake City have bucked that trend. They're doing the exact opposite. We still have market appreciation because we still have people coming. The median days on market for last year were about 55. When we talk about this appreciation, not every city is exactly the same. We had Park City, which set the record with 108% appreciation. Second was Draper with 37.2% appreciation. Draper, I've talked about before, it's got amazing mountain bike trails. It's still got lots of growth happening. As we mentioned in a previous video, that whole new Draper development where the state prison is going to continue to build Draper up and probably cause more market appreciation there. And then the third was Santaquin, Utah. This is a suburb in Utah County, south of Provo and Orem, and it has appreciated 33.9%. The counties kind of follow the similar pattern as the cities. So the fastest appreciating county was Summit County at 23%, which that's where Park City is. Next was Cache County, which is on the very north end of the state where Utah State University is. That appreciated at 9.3%. And then third place was Salt Lake County, which is, the capital of the state, at 8.7% appreciation. We know in 2025, we're gonna have pent-up demand. That's been happening the last couple of years because interest rates have remained stubbornly high. So a lot of people have been waiting for those interest rates to drop. There's been signs here and there where they'll dip, but then they go right back up. With that normalized rate right now, we've been seeing rates with the 6 to 7% range. They're moving if they need to, but it's not causing this huge rate unlock that I've been talking about on this channel before. Because a lot of people expect that once rates dip below 6, that's gonna cause a lot of people to just wanna upgrade or downgrade or just move because they can, because it's more affordable. So where do we end up in 2025? Before we go locally in Utah, let's talk about the nationwide trends that are happening and what some really smart economists are saying in regards to this. So we'll start with Lawrence Yun, who's the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. He took a look at unemployment, new jobs, inflation, inventory, and said, okay, what do we think is actually going to happen next year? And there's three things that kind of came about this. He believes the number of transactions are going to happen in 2025 are going to raise about 9%, which would give us about 4.2 million or something very similar to 2023. But how's that going to translate in Utah? Like I said before, we're probably gonna have a little bit more appreciation. So moving into 2025, what do I think is gonna happen along the Wasatch Front? Well, like mentioned, I think we're gonna have continued appreciation. I think we're gonna have a higher number of units sold. So we're seeing more people move even with higher rates. I really believe that if rates do actually dip, people have been saying they're going to dip for a long time and they've just stayed stubborn at about 6.25 to 6.75. I still think we're going to have more transactions than last year just because we have continued demand here in Utah. Places where we're going to have a lot of growth will be some of those commuter towns. Salt Lake City, You know, there's a few infill projects, but we have a lot of places that still have land to develop. You know, we talked about South Jordan, the Daybreak area, places like that are commuters. Like I mentioned previously, Santa Quin, Utah, which had some of the highest, you know, appreciation this year. It's a commuter town to Provo. We can talk about the West Davis corridor also. That just got finished up about a year ago. So that actually makes it really easy to travel up to Syracuse, West Point, that whole area. And there's still quite a bit of land to be developed there. So that community, they're gonna be growing. Other places in, you know, Salt Lake County and North Utah County. So we talked about, you know, South Jordan, talked about Riverton, both in South Salt Lake County, has lots of room for growth. And the freeways are starting to get out there with the Mountain View corridor, Bangor Highway's finally getting like real interchanges, so it's easier to commute. And then when we talk about North Utah County, we have Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain, which are just exploding. About half of all listings in Saratoga Springs are new construction. Another big commuter town is obviously Tooele County. From Salt Lake City, you just head west on Interstate 80 and you go around Lake Point, it's called, and from there it's a huge county with tons of room to develop. There's lots of new construction happening there, and it's a pretty simple commute to downtown. So with all of these locations, we're seeing lots of different types of development. We're getting the typical single family homes, we're getting the townhomes, and we're getting the condos. With all this new home construction happening and the continued demand we have in Utah, I see prices appreciating at least 3% again, maybe even up to 5% depending on all the other things that are happening. Next up, I want to talk about some of the big projects that are happening in Utah. But before I do that, I want to mention that if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in Utah, and you need someone to guide you along, I'm here to help. Feel free to schedule a call with me at the link below. Now, we can't forget about all the huge projects that are already slated in Utah. We talked about the Point at Draper. That's going to be on the old prison site, which is many acres to be redeveloped into like a big community city center. And then we also talked about Utah City, which is in Vineyard, Utah. That's in Utah County. All of these are going to bring more jobs, probably more tech jobs because they're right along that tech corridor, and lots of growth in, you know, sales, citizens coming to Utah, and more growth for the state. We also got to talk about the ski industry. So as mentioned, Salt Lake is now the host of the 2034 Winter Olympic Games. So we did it in 2002. Now we're doing it again in 2034. So we have new growth in Deer Valley. They just added that whole Mayflower side of the ski resort, which faces I-40. Powder Mountain, which is the resort I grew up going to in Weber County next to Ogden. Reed Hastings at Netflix recently purchased a majority stake in that, and he's trying to develop it into some high-end type thing, which is going to push prices and development in Eden and Huntsville to become more the park city, but they say with less people. We'll see if that actually happens because it's quite a drive from the airport. Additionally, we have the new downtown district. Salt Lake City Community Council actually just voted to help with $1.8 billion to redevelop downtown into this entertainment district with the Smith Entertainment Group and Ryan Smith. So they're going to be, and we mentioned this in a previous video, they're going to be redeveloping that whole area from 400 West to basically Main Street between South Temple and 100 South to make it a big walkable entertainment area. That is a huge development for downtown, and it's going to be good for the Jazz, for the Utah Hockey Club, and for the Olympics. And our slow building process is really just driving prices up. You know, I really think we'll have that appreciation this year. Even with more transactions in 2025 compared to 2024, we're going to have market appreciation here in Utah. People are looking to move here. Additionally, Utah is kind of the outdoor mecca of the West. If you move to Salt Lake, you're only 10 to 30 minutes away from some great outdoor activities, hiking, skiing, all that stuff. And then, you know, if you're along the Wasatch Front, you're within, 3 to 4 hours of 5 national parks. So there's a lot of reasons to love on Utah. I love Utah, and you've probably gotten that from all of my videos about it. If you're looking to connect and learn more about Utah, Salt Lake City, Provo, Ogden, the Wasatch Front, feel free to schedule a call with me below. I'd love to, help guide you and answer your questions along the way. And if you like this content, make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment if you have questions. Thanks.